Hello and welcome to Brain Says Strange Things. This is the podcast where Jordan and I discuss horror movies. I'm Patrick, and this episode we are going to be talking about movies that have a similar theme, that of killer toys. The most famous of those types of movies is probably Child's Play. We won't be talking about that movie. Rather, we'll be discussing... We might discuss it briefly. But we will be doing reviews of the film Dolls, directed by Stuart Gordon, currently streaming on Netflix if anyone wants to check it out. And we're also going to be talking about the Puppet Master series that came out from Full Moon Entertainment.
Can't even say it without smiling. You're just so into Puppet Master.
I'm pretty excited about this episode because I'm a big fan of Charles Band and Full Moon Entertainment, which we'll get into a little bit later. But I think we're going to kick things off with our review of Stuart Gordon's Dolls. Now, Stuart Gordon is well known as the director of the cult classic Reanimator, but he also directed a lot of other great horror films, and Dolls is one of them. This movie is essentially about, it's kind of a modern-day fairy tale. Little girl, her father, and her horrible stepmother.
And her horrible, her horrible dad, too.
Yeah,
they're all horrible.
Yeah, the really horrible parental figures in this film. And a typical horror movie setup, there's a storm, this family is on vacation, their car becomes stranded, they see this ominous kind of, it looks like a castle almost, but it's this old house that they seek refuge in. And the house is owned by this strange but kindly elderly couple. And there's some other people come to the house as well. And eventually some strange things start happening. People start dying. And it seems as though the dolls, which the old man manufactures himself, may in some way be responsible. And we've got a killer doll movie on our hands. Really interesting movie. We liked it quite a lot. We saw it for the first time just now. So what was your take on Stuart Gordon's Dolls?
Well, first, what other Stuart Gordon movies are there?
Well, he
did a lot of... I guess Reanimator's the only one that I know.
He's very well known for Reanimator. He also did another one called From Beyond. That Scream Factory is going to be putting out later this year. Yeah, so he's a little bit. I'm not really a Stuart Gordon expert by any means. I love Reanimator, but he's a little bit more prolific than people think. I think Reanimator is so well known, and justly so. It's a great movie, but he did a lot of other interesting things, and I definitely would put Dolls in that category.
Okay, so yeah, my review is I thought it was a really great movie. It was a lot of fun. It's not perfect, but the best thing you could say is that it's fun to watch. I even said, like, in the first few minutes of it, it's like, I love this movie already. Just the look of it. And
well, it's got a really interesting first kill. Which is sort of a first kill because it takes place in the imagination of the little girl, but it's a great sequence where the stepmother throws away the little girl's teddy bear.
Their car is abandoned on the side of the road in the storm. It's really cartoony storm. The clouds are moving really fast and there's cartoon lightning. And then they start traipsing through the woods to find this house that they saw in the distance, and then they start walking and then they don't see it, and then they rediscover it. It's really weird. But then the evil stepmother throws the little teddy bear away for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, these parents are like just cartoonishly evil because
she's carrying a little Hansel and Gretel book and she's carrying a teddy bear and she throw that thing away. Like, what? The teddy bear was slowing her down or something?
Because the stepmother's just pure
She's
evil.
just mean for the sake of being mean.
She's an evil stepmother in the classic mode, so we don't feel bad when she meets her fate later in the film.
The father's not that much better than her. They're two evil people.
They're horrible people who deserve what's coming to them.
So set up right away, you know who's going to die in this movie. And then after other characters are introduced, there's another Abbott or Costello type character. Which one would it be?
Costello.
Yeah. Okay. So
A friendly, funny fat guy.
a funny fat guy.
Who I really like that guy.
I liked him too. And he has 2 punk hitchhikers that he picked up
Couple
along
of
the way.
great female punks.
Just like way out of their. It's very 80s.
It's very 80s.
And I guess the year like on the nose. I didn't even know what the movie was.
What was it?
It was 86.
86. Okay, so a few years before Puppet Master.
Yep.
But yeah, talk about that initial kill. Like go back to like what happens after she throws the teddy bear away. Cause I thought that was a great.
So she throws
sequence.
a little teddy bear. Teddy bear goes in the bushes, and then you hear a little noise in there, and this large teddy bear. It looks exactly like a teddy bear, not the one she threw actually.
Yeah, but
it
like
looks
a
like
giant,
a big teddy bear.
giant teddy bear comes lumbering out of the woods.
It walks through the woods. It sounds funny, but it is kind of funny. That's why I like these Stuart Gordon movies, because they ride that line really well. It looks funny, but at the same time, it's pretty creepy to see that teddy bear. And after the teddy bear turns into sort of like a real kind of guy in a... It's kind of a
werewolf bear kind of creature.
For all intents and purposes, it's a real bear. They're trying to pass it off. Or a real looking bear. It's not supposed to look like a teddy bear. And that is less creepy than the teddy bear actually walking towards it.
And the little girl, this is all in the little girl's imagination, but we see the teddy bear turn into this real bear, this kind of like werewolf bear, and like
eats the
maul
parents.
and eat the parents. It turns out that's just in the little girl's head. That hasn't actually happened. But it sets the tone for this movie, which is a delightful tone. And I think you described it well. It's right on that line of like funny and horrifying. It's really not a very scary movie.
There's a lot of horror movies where they have a sense of humor, and you're not quite sure if they know what they're doing, or there are very few people that can do horror and comedy right.
Right.
Now, I wouldn't say that this movie is a comedy per se, but it sort of is in a weird way. Like the jokes in this movie, whether they fall flat or whether they work, or you're laughing at them, you're not laughing at things because they're cheesy, or when you are, they were like meant to be that way.
Yes. So this is not a case of it's so bad it's good.
No.
This is a case of the filmmakers know exactly what they're doing. And it's, for the most part, it's funny when it's supposed to be funny. It's scary when it's supposed to be
you could say it could be a little more creative in the story department too, but I mean, that's part of its charm as well, is that it's so simple. They know exactly what they're doing. At the beginning, she's reading a Hansel and Gretel book. I mean, come on.
It's not subtle.
No, there's nothing subtle about it, and they know that, you know. So I don't know. Like I've said before in these, is that you feel like you're in good hands, and I kind of felt that right away. And I'm
definitely,
like, I'll go with it.
Yeah. So that initial scene with the teddy bear, I thought like really was a great way to open the movie. You're right. It kind of made you confident that these filmmakers knew what they were doing, and then it's a while before the dolls actually started killing people, which is why we're all here.
That's a problem with it, I think.
Do you think so? You thought they held off a little too long on the dolls?
With so many characters, it takes so long before they kind of just cram it all in at the end where they're killing everybody. I think
it's not a long movie. It's an hour and 17 minutes.
There's just not really a reason to do that, I guess. It's fine if you do it that way, but...
So maybe
I don't know. I was kind of thinking, like, when are they going to get to the dolls? Just show the dolls, please.
Yeah, there's a fine line with that. You want to... The movie is called Dolls, so we know going in that we're going to see some killer dolls. We're going to see dolls killing people.
The killer dolls!
Yes, as that character delivered that line so wonderfully in the movie. So you want to hold off a little bit to kind of build that tension and anticipation. You want the audience to be waiting for those dolls, but you thought maybe they held off a little bit too long. You might be right on that.
Also, in the dolls themselves aren't that good of a payoff, I guess. The setup goes on for a long time, and then we do see the dolls. They're dolls.
They're dolls.
The weird thing is, like earlier what I said with the teddy bear, is that when they show some of the dolls, some of them have like creepy like fangs, and I say creepy, but they're supposed to be creepy.
Right.
They have like little fangs, and they have like bloodshot eyes.
Yes.
It's almost creepier just to show an actual doll.
Yeah.
looking at people.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's another thing that kind of stood out too to me.
Well, for the most part, and this to me is
it's not a major gripe.
Well, this to me was one of the big differences between Dolls and Puppet Master, in that for the most part the dolls in this movie were just regular looking dolls, and they were creepy in the way that old timey dolls are creepy, and they were kind of built around that. They didn't have like special powers. They weren't like built to kill people per se, like the dolls in Puppet Master maybe were. They were not distinct personalities or original creations in the way that the Puppet Master characters were. There were a few of them that did have those elements, that had some overt kind of horror elements to them. But for the most part, it just relied on the fact of, if you think like old-fashioned dolls are creepy, like you're going to think these dolls are creepy. But they didn't really do anything too unique with them beyond that. But I thought all of the sequences with the dolls were very well done.
Well, I think the fact that they are just kind of plain works in their favor a lot, because how is a plain looking little doll gonna take down a grown human being? And then that scene comes out of nowhere, which I really liked in some bizarre way. Why I liked it, I don't know what that says about me, but but when the dolls plural finally attack the wicked stepmother, whatever she is.
Yeah, she's the first kill from the dolls.
Well, where you actually see the dolls.
Yeah.
The punk girl got killed, but you don't see the
dolls. Oh, that's right, yeah.
And that scene is it's kind of horrific, where they bang her face into the wall. They don't kill her right away. She's still alive, you'll find out later, but when they take down the stepmother, they've got like a saw, and they're like lumberjacks. They're like sawing at her shins.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's really horrific, because they make it look kind of realistic, as realistic as their budget will allow.
Yeah.
And they're stabbing her in the back, and she's got a knife in the back, and it's really horrific, and it comes out of nowhere, but for some reason it fit. Like, I credit it to Stuart Gordon. I think it's nothing with the story at all. I think it's just the look of it is really unique. Yeah,
the kills were really bloody. It wasn't like a clean. These dolls had no like special way to kill people. It was like a lot of multiple stabbing and hacking and sawing at multiple parts. They always attacked in like a big group.
Yep.
So yeah, I really enjoyed all of the sequences with the dolls. I thought that was all really well done, which, I mean, you kind of need to sell this film, because the whole movie's kind of built around these dolls, obviously. So I thought they did a great job with that. David Allen, who also did the stop-motion special effects for Puppet Master, did the same work here on Dolls.
There's not a lot of stop-motion in this one.
Yeah, it's a mixture of stop-motion and more practical puppet effects, which is true of Puppet Master 2. But I thought the stop motion they did use looked really good. It was all integrated really seamlessly. Yeah, it's just a great looking movie. I mean, if you like 1980s horror movies, I think this is one of the better looking ones.
And they also don't fall into that other pitfall of there's the main girl is. I like that little girl.
Yeah, she's a really likable. She's one of the most likable characters in a horror movie. She's very precocious.
It starts out, and I'm going to be like, by the end of this movie, I'm going to be like that stepdad he almost like backhands her at one point, and that is another thing that just comes out of nowhere. It's like there's a lot of undertones of real violence in this really simple Hansel and Gretel story.
Yeah,
it's very bizarre, but it works, and she's not annoying at all. She's fun. I was laughing at things that she was saying.
She really is one of the most appealing protagonists in a horror movie.
She's leading this
little girl.
She's showing the Costello, Ralph, I guess we'll call him, the funny fat guy. She's leading him around. They've become friends. They hadn't known each other previously.
I like that character too.
I liked him too. She's leading him around, and he's like, which way? She's trying to show him a dead body or something, or where someone had been killed. No one else believes her, but Ralph goes along with her. Because he discovers that she's got blood on her slippers, and he's like, oh, so this is real. And he's like, how did that get on your slippers? And she goes, there was a lot of blood around where she was killed.
Yeah.
Like, this kind of stuff happens.
Right.
Just deal with it. And then she's leading him around, and then she says, like, can't remember exactly. She's like, "What do you want from me? I'm 7 years old." And
Right.
she says it like she is a 7-year-old. It's not like one of the kids. A big problem with a lot of child actors is they try to act a different age than they actually are. So you get older kids saying lines like, "Oh, help, mommy," and you're just not buying it. This girl, like, they just told her what to do, basically. It doesn't even seem like she's reading off the script, and they told her what's going on. And she's like, "Okay, I'll do it."
Yeah, she's not, we should have looked up the actress's name.
She actually kind of looked kind of familiar.
Yeah.
She looks kind of like a male child actor from around the 80s.
Maybe
I could be totally wrong.
They all kind of had the same look, maybe, but she's not like a great actor in the way that like a young actor, like a Haley Joel Osment is.
No, but you don't need to do that.
But that kind of worked towards the charm of the movie. She
and
was
the
like
humor.
a real
it worked
kid,
for the humor as well.
And yeah, the script was really sharp and funny, and it was interesting to have it. It's always interesting to have a child protagonist in a horror movie. It's a difficult line to kind of skate with that. And this whole movie, to me, the most interesting thing about it was the tone of the movie and who was the target audience for this movie. Because in so many ways,
me.
Well, yeah, me too. I mean, I loved it, but in so many ways, this was almost a children's movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the
just
story,
in like its simplicity.
The story was very simple, and it was not overtly scary. And the people who died were bad people, and good people didn't die. And you kind of were rooting for the dolls.
It's just because it had the like gross out, I suppose.
Yeah, it's
sort of deaths.
It's incredibly gory, but other than that, I feel like a 11, 12-year-old could totally watch this and be fine. If I had children, I would watch this movie with them when they were old enough, like 10, 11 years. I'm serious, I would, because it's really bloody, but it's fun. It's a fun movie, and it has a happy ending. And I just thought it was terrific. But didn't you?
I wouldn't show it to a child.
I would,
but
see, that's always my thing. Like I.
But I guess when I was that age, I might have been watching stuff like that too. So
I wouldn't force.
But I'm not the best
I
example.
wouldn't like force like a 6-year-old to watch it, but like 10, 11, 12, when they're getting into like, they're gonna want to get into like horror movies. I would show them this before I showed them Reanimator, and then maybe when they're like 13 or 14, I'd show them Reanimator. Hey, I watched these movies when I was 11, 12 years old. Obviously, I turned out just fine. Mm-hmm. But I did think that I'm like, this would be a appropriate introduction to the horror genre for a younger person. But I don't want to turn off like adult horror fans because I think they would love this movie.
Yeah,
it's very bloody. I mean, it's quite gory. There's a lot of blood in this movie. Mm-hmm. A lot of times you'll watch a movie from the 1980s, and even if it has a reputation for being particularly gory, you'll watch it, you'll be like, well, that's kind of tame compared to just an average, horror movie of today. But this one was they were quite liberal in their use of blood in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, like, the only other Stuart Gordon movie I've seen, I think, is Reanimator. Maybe I've seen another one I didn't realize it was his, but watching this one, I was like, why did Stuart Gordon make this movie? Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't seem up his alley, or I don't know, something was just kind of weird. Like, why did he do this particular one? Mm-hmm. And by the time, like, you see that first death happen, like, when the violence erupts, and it seems kind of like it's out of nowhere, but at the same time, it still fits perfectly in with it. I was like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Like, he was, like, the perfect guy to do it.
And it's that perfect kind of blend of horror and comedy, not taking itself too seriously.
But serious enough to, like, kind of freak you out almost to a certain extent, or to whatever, satisfy wanting to see blood on the screen, I guess. Whatever that urge is.
Yeah, and there were some genuinely chilling moments in the movie. I think when they found the girl in the attic, and she was in the process of being transformed into a doll, that was a creepy moment in the movie. It was,
because she's in the background almost the whole time. Her eyes just kind of like dart a little bit, so you kind of see, like, the first time watching it, I didn't see her right away. And then you kind of notice, then they slowly, like, kind of zoom in, I think, a little bit. And you get like a lightning flash, and then you see her. She's got like a doll head on her normal
and
body.
we don't know what's going on yet.
And she's tied to a chair, so she can't move or say anything. And she's there, so the main characters don't notice it, and they just kind of walk by. So you're the only person that sees it. And it is a freaky image.
It is a freaky image, and like you said, the is even though it was a silly scene and it was a funny scene in a lot of ways. That the teddy bear lumbering out of the woods at the beginning. There's something creepy about that. And, I mean, obviously, if you are freaked out by dolls, which is kind of a primal fear I think a lot of people have, in the way that some people are afraid of clowns. These kind of, like, old-fashioned dolls have kind of, like, a creepy element to them.
I guess. The clown thing makes a little more sense to me, but I don't... Not a psychologist.
I think there's something creepy about these old-fashioned, like, not like a Barbie doll, but like these old, like kind of like porcelain dolls, there's something like a little creepy about them to a lot of people.
I guess if they're just like blank expressions and then there's no emotion behind
them.
I don't know, whatever. We're not this isn't Dr. Phil, so I have to figure that out.
Yeah, but I think this movie does a good job of exploiting those kinds of fears while at the same time primarily just being a great entertainment. So I guess highest possible recommendation. It has the Brain Says Strange Things seal of approval.
4 out of 5 brains or whatever.
Yeah, 4.5 brains for Stuart Gordon's Dolls. A great film.
Which I liked it better than...
Segue?
Sure.
Puppet Master was released a few years later in 1989. And there are many connections between Puppet Master and Dolls.
What are some of those connections?
I have been a fan of the Puppet Master movies for years. It would be safe to say
I sort of have more like a peripherally.
Yes.
I know them just because you're such a
fan. It would be safe to say, and probably not an exaggeration, that they were something of a formative experience for me in, me becoming a horror fan.
They definitely played like a big role in the VHS movement.
Oh, yes. They were a major player. So, let's see. Puppet Master. Before we get into the whole, full moon thing, we'll focus on the first Puppet Master movie, which you recently rewatched.
Yeah.
I recently rewatched the first 9 Puppet Master movies. So I went way overboard, as I often do. But the first Puppet Master movie was made in 1989, released by Full Moon Entertainment. This is producer Charles Band's kind of follow-up to Empire, who produced Dolls, right? So Empire collapsed a few years after Dolls was released. No fault of Dolls, I'm sure.
I was going to say no coincidence.
No, I hope not. But so then Charles Band came up with Full Moon Entertainment, and Full Moon Entertainment released films directly to VHS. Remember VHS? And they partnered with Paramount to do that, and their first release was Puppet Master, and it was a big hit in the video rental market, and it spawned numerous sequels and a whole bunch of other Full Moon movies. So, Puppet Master, another Killer Toys
Count
movie.
How many times we say Puppet Master.
I feel like you're making fun of me.
No, I said it too, so go ahead. So Puppet Master.
Puppet Master is another Killer Toy movie, obviously. And it is...
a more famous one, that's kind of what led to Dolls, I think, right? Let's do a Puppet Master movie and theme that somehow.
Yeah.
As an afterthought, do you think?
Yeah, I thought Dolls...
I'd never heard of Dolls before.
So Dolls is like a precursor to Puppet Master in that they have the same producer, Charles Band.
But then Full Moon eclipsed it.
Right.
It's some weird metaphor.
Is that a pun?
I don't know.
All right.
I don't think so.
Let's focus here. Charles Band produced both movies. Mm-hmm. David Allen did the stop-motion special effects for both movies. And David Allen's a real unsung hero of the Puppet Master series. Guy Rolfe is not in the first Puppet Master movie. He plays the toy maker in
He
Dolls.
was the old guy?
No.
Should I know who Guy Rolfe
Guy
is?
Rolfe was in the... He played the toy maker in Dolls, and he played Andre Toulon in the third Puppet Master movie. So he's not in the first one, but he's in the Puppet Master series as well. And then, of course, the whole theme of, like, killer dolls. So there's, like...
Because when you said Guy Rolfe is in Dolls, I was thinking, should I know who Guy Rolfe is?
He did...
It doesn't seem like a famous guy.
He's done other horror films.
He's one of those guys.
But, I mean, I know him primarily from Puppet Master, but I knew he was in Dolls, too. So there's all these connections between the two movies. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, I don't want to say the title again, but I don't know how to get around it. In Puppet Master, there is this group of psychics. And help me out here, because you saw it more recently than I did.
You're right, so far.
And they are... why don't you summarize Puppet Master?
I'm not sure I understood the story of Puppet Master.
Yeah, it's rather convoluted, actually. But these psychics are all...
It's a group of psychics that had been disbanded. I guess because they had lost their powers? Or something like that? It starts out where you're witnessing like what they're doing now in the real life. I think there's 5 of them.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm asking you. I don't think you remember. But it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
So they've been disbanded, and the death of the guy who makes these puppets, the master,
Andre Toulon.
Yep. He dies because the Nazis are...
Oh, that's right. Okay, the movie starts out with like a prologue where we see this old man in the hotel room of the Bodega Bay Inn, which had become a fixture of the Puppet Master movies, and these Nazis are coming to get him. This is like World War II era. And he has all these like little living puppets. He hides the puppets. He commits suicide so the Nazis don't get his secret. And then it flashes forward to the present day, where all of these psychics...
they're getting the band back together.
Yeah, they gather together. Are they invited to the Bodega Bay Inn by the one guy, or do they all just have like visions that something's going on?
I think they're invited by... There's a girl who's...
The wife of
one
of the psychics who's at the Bodega Bay Inn.
Yeah, so one of their friends had died. It's kind of like Big Chill, I guess.
Yeah, they get there. He ends up... They say that he committed suicide, but there's obviously more going on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I think... I don't know who summons them or whatever, but they're there basically to find out like what happened to this guy.
So this group of psychics gather at the Bodega Bay Inn.
They all have different powers, I guess. They say they don't really use that in the movie.
But it doesn't matter, because pretty soon they all start getting killed by some puppets.
Pretty soon there are some puppets.
There's some puppets killing people. And honestly, it really doesn't matter, because the real stars of this movie and all the Puppet Master movies are the puppets.
The puppets.
Unlike Dolls, the Puppet Master movie distinguished itself by really creating some terrific characters in these puppets.
Yeah, they're creative.
And they're pretty inventive. So let's do the roll call. Blade is...
They don't say their names in the movie.
Don't they say their names in the movie?
No.
Well, you know, true Full Moon fans like me know their names. Blade is my favorite. So he's got a switchblade and a hook.
He's
on
got
his
knives
hands.
for eyes too that pop out.
Yep, knives that pop out when he's going to kill people. So these puppets were made to kill. There's Pinhead, the super strong member of the group.
I like the way they did Pinhead too, where sometimes they'll show like real human hands.
Yeah, midget hands.
Or, were they midget?
Yeah, it was a female midget.
Oh,
who
that kind of ruins it. But
sorry, Pinhead's not real.
There's too many factoids.
I know. I'm gonna try to restrain myself. I'm not a Full Moon expert, but I'm enthusiastic.
But so he's got a little tiny head. He looks like one of the Goombas in the Mario.
Pinhead's pretty great. I'm pretty sure I had an action figure.
Yep. Yeah, you had Pinhead and Blade, I think, or
Pinhead, Blade,
something like that.
And then there's Jester, who is not a real effective
he doesn't do anything.
Killer.
Yeah.
He's kind of...
I didn't know that was his name either, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, Jester doesn't really have any special powers in terms of killing people, but he's a little...
He's like False... Or is that False Face, the He-Man toy?
Man-E-Faces is what you're thinking of.
It's exactly like Manny Faces, where his head like spins around and then it locks up and shows a different emotion. So he's kind of just
so there's Jester
sitting off to the side.
And then one of the more intriguing puppets is Leech Woman, who you said you liked a lot.
Yeah, that was bizarre. She's one of the more bizarre ones.
Yeah,
where she like vomits up leeches that attack people, which is weird because that's a really slow. she's slow in doing it.
I always
and
think
also,
that about Leetro. Not the most
also-
effective way of killing people, but it makes for some pretty good deaths.
It takes a while to apply all these leeches. Luckily, she kills a guy that's already tied up, so that works in her favor.
That's the thing about the Puppet Master
any other
movies.
way.
People have always got to be falling or trapped under something.
They're pretty good at killing invalids. So.
One of the most effective killers of all the puppets is Tunneler, who has a drill on his head and is probably responsible for some of the more gory kills throughout the Puppet Master series. And I think
Take your word for it.
I think that's it for the initial group of puppets.
There's more that come along the way, but in the first movie that I saw, that's the only one that...
Yeah, that was the initial group. They would later add characters like Torch and Six Shooter, and it was always really exciting whenever they'd introduce a new puppet in one of the movies. But yeah, that's our group of puppets for the first movie. And as we said, the puppets are the real stars of the movie. So we know I love Puppet Master. What did you think of Puppet Master? You had seen it before.
I'd seen
as a
it.
kid?
I'd seen it years ago. I guess I'll just say that I hadn't seen it before because I don't remember anything from it. I've seen you were more into it. You would always watch them. I'd every once in a while sit down and watch some of one, or I'd watch one with you. So I don't know which ones I've seen and which ones I haven't. Honestly, this one didn't look very familiar to me. So I don't think I probably had not seen this one before, and I liked it. I don't know. It wasn't as fun as like Dolls.
Dolls has more of a sense of humor.
It was more of like a good idea, and then I don't know. Like I don't want to say like their budget restricted them.
Well, I'm sure it did.
I just think maybe it. Well, it did, but in some cases that kind of breeds creativity.
Maybe not in this case.
In this case, I don't. Maybe not. Maybe it's like they had a good cast. They came up with good characters, like not the humans. We'll get into that. The humans.
Well, I don't know. Paul Le Mat was in it, who's also in Death Valley, another horror movie that I just saw.
Oh man.
Paul
the Doormat.
I kind of liked.
Is that the main guy?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I kind of liked some of the human characters.
No, they're so bad.
All right.
What about the main psychic girl who had a little stuffed dog? Do you like her?
Yeah, I think I did.
She was like, I mean, in a Puppet Master movie, she was way over the top, and that's really saying something.
Right. Oh man. Well, you should see some of the later Puppet Master movies.
Well, yeah, you're probably grading it on a Puppet Master scale.
Well, that's the thing. These are direct-to-video films. They were always meant to be direct-to-video films.
And they look like it.
Yes, but if you're comparing them to other films that were made to be direct-to-video, I think Puppet Master, the early Puppet Master movies and Full Moon, were a higher level of quality. The films had a real atmosphere to them. They were creative in terms of just coming up with the concepts. They maybe didn't always think through or follow through on the ideas.
That's kind of what it feels. It feels kind of like an unfinished thought.
It's a little half. There's something a little half.
Or they rushed it into production as soon as they came up with the idea for the characters before they really.
There's
That's the nature of the beast, though. There's
a lot of energy and enthusiasm to Full Moon. Does it hold up to like intense critical scrutiny? No. I mean, it's interesting.
No, I didn't think it would. I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when you review something like Puppet Master versus like we hated the new Texas Chainsaw 3D, but in many ways, if you're evaluating it from a technical standpoint,
sure, it looks better.
Texas Chainsaw 3D may have been a superior film, but in context, Puppet Master was a terrific direct-to-video film in a time when videos were huge, but a lot of studios were just cranking out junk. And you could tell that this movie was really made by people who had a love of the genre and who really knew their craft. And
sort of a subgenre of like independent films, a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And I would and Charles Band, I think of him as kind of like the Stan Lee of horror movies. He may not be like the greatest creative talent, but he knows how to kind of build a fan base. He has a passion for this kind of material. And there is a lot of creativity there. And I definitely would defend David Allen's work as being absolutely terrific. I mean, stop motion is of course
it worked.
completely out
It
of
worked in the
favor and
movie.
out of style today. But I think he made those Puppet Master movies what they were, and when he left the series after Puppet Master 5, it really was not the same. So,
Well, I'll say one thing.
definite props to David Allen.
When you first don't see the puppets in the beginning, you just see it from the puppet's perspective. Now, I'm saying puppets all the time, but if you see it from their perspective and they're like running around on the ground, it's really smooth. It's like, and it's moving really fast. I just kept picturing like what the puppet actually looks like running with his tiny little legs.
Right.
Like it doesn't really match up. I don't know. I thought that was kind of funny, but
Yeah.
I don't know. There's no point. I just thought that was funny.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've got to take it with a grain of salt to some degree. I'm not going to say Puppet Master is a great movie, but I recommend seeing Puppet Master because, video stores and VHS, that was how, like, I became a horror fan. And the Full Moon videos were a huge part of that, you know?
They had good box art.
They had great box art. I was actually thinking about that. I was talking with Dave about that the other day. Like, I do like the boxes to the Full Moon movies. They had a particular look, and I was thinking, God, why are the Full Moon boxes so good? And it was like, well, I guess because they were made to be VHSs. It wasn't like a movie poster that they converted or a still image to a VHS box. It's like, Charles Band was like, these are going to be for video stores. And everything that he did was geared towards that market and towards those fans.
Well, before we go too far into like Full Moon,
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to. Yeah.
just want to say one thing that really doesn't work with Puppet Master. The ending does not work at all. I'm not sure how much you remember of it.
Well, I watched it not too long ago, but you're gonna have to remind me how Puppet Master ended.
So I don't really know the story, but
Though the guy put
the bad
himself
guy-
into like a human puppet body, or is that
well, he's
part
a
two?
human. Yeah. No, you're right. He's a human. He has like Spock green blood, apparently. It's weird. He wants to live forever, basically, in this human body. It's not a puppet.
Oh, okay.
It's a human body, I guess. I mean, it's just a guy. It's an actor. And they introduced that character way at the end. Like, it's supposed to be a big surprise. And that's fine. Like, that's what a lot of movies do, where the big reveal. But they introduce him. 5 minutes later, those puppets are killing him.
Yes, I remember that.
And-
they turn on him,
And that
which
death,
is the standard ending for Puppet Master movies.
and that death goes on for another 15 minutes. So you're watching them kill this guy for 15 minutes who previously had just been introduced 5 minutes prior.
Yeah.
That just like
I
that
feel
totally threw me off, and I know it's weird to criticize.
I
this
feel
movie
like
for
you're coming
story
at
elements.
it from a little bit too highbrow. I'm happy to see them kill someone for 15 minutes.
I love lowbrow movies as well, but that just, I don't know. It didn't work.
You don't want to go into the Puppet Master
It's
movies.
gotta have like
Now-
it's gotta have a structure.
Now,
underneath
hold on.
it.
You weren't sober when you watched this, were you?
Mhm.
Oh dear. Well,
Oh.
there's your problem.
Yes.
Puppet Master
Stone
movies.
cold watching
You're
Puppet
gonna
Master.
want to have a couple before you put them in. But if you do, you're gonna have a great time.
All right, I'll take that as a lesson.
Well, were there any moments in the Puppet Master movie or sequences that you really liked that really stood out as particularly well done? Or
I did
cool
like when
or
they're
effective?
killing the guy at the end.
Mm-hmm.
It went on way too long, and you don't care because they're killing a guy
Who you don't know.
You don't even know who he is.
Yeah,
you don't
it
know what
really
he's doing.
it really
doesn't
is
matter.
all about the puppets.
All the
and
scenes with the
effects.
actors don't work. I think they're really bad. I think you're probably giving them too much praise there, but the scenes whenever the puppets attack people, I think they work.
Yeah, and that's why you're
There is a scene when
that's why you rented the video, you know.
yeah. So in that regard, I mean, you get what you wanted out
Yeah.
of it. So it worked for me. That's why I'm saying, like, I liked it. I think it's a good movie, but
Yep.
if you had to choose between the two, if you're looking at Dolls and Puppet Master sitting on if there were video stores, if they're sitting on a shelf, you would choose. I would say go with Dolls.
Yes, I would agree.
Puppet Master it's okay. think. I'm not as crazy about it as you are. That's all.
No, I don't want to like foist my nostalgia on people and like
Yes.
build Puppet Master up into this great thing. So I'm gonna say I agree with you. If you can only see one of these movies, see Dolls.
I don't want to make it seem like I'm like seriously trying to analyze this thing. It's
Right.
just when you watch it with that perspective and something like that stands out to you, then I think you've got a problem.
Fair enough. Yeah, not a great film, but I am gonna say if you are interested in Full Moon, which I think you should be, and Charles Band's career, and the VHS era of the 1980s going into the 1990s.
If you have a really specific,
Basically, if you're
And-
me, if
and
you're
you're-
exactly like me and have my interests, no, it's an interesting document of a particular type of movie that you should check out, and it's one of relatively high quality to other films of that type.
even if you're interested in like films and independent films, I'd say like look into it because it is pretty interesting the way the VHS era took off and then died, and then it spawns other what we have now, which is streaming. So I don't.
Which isn't as fun.
Which it isn't.
We'll have a whole episode about that.
Okay.
Because we're old and we miss video stores. But
I feel like a kid watching these movies though, which is why I like them.
But also, if you have some friends over, have a few beers. Puppet Master is a lot of fun.
And that's the last time we're gonna say Puppet Master.
It probably isn't.
Okay.
But well, let's kind of wrap things up with
a neat little package.
maybe just a few brief words about Full Moon and why
I'll let you go.
and why I like
don't
Full
really know
Moon
a
so
lot
much.
about Full Moon.
Yeah, well, I'm not like a Full Moon expert, but the reason that I wanted to rewatch Puppet Master is because when I was a kid, like I said, like video stores were where it was at. We didn't have streaming. I mean, not that we're real old. This isn't that long ago. There's still
Yeah, really.
there still are video stores, but I do think you kind of have to explain the context that a lot of these movies were discovered in. Not only was there not streaming, but you didn't have the internet. You didn't have this constant
We
access.
had the internet, but it was nothing.
I didn't have the internet until years after I first saw the first Puppet Masters, the first Friday the 13th, the first Nightmare on Elm Streets. You just didn't have the constant access to information that you have now. Usually when we do these podcasts, we famously do not do a lot of research on these movies, but I'll read the Wikipedia entry. I'll see like, oh, what else did this guy direct? Maybe take a few minutes. It's all at our fingertips. That was not the case when we were growing up watching movies. So it really depended on what was stocked at your local video store. What Charles Band did with Full Moon that I think was brilliant was he created this label and total Stan Lee Marvel Comics style created a sense of community and really understood that if he could create
the video zones.
The video zone. Can we talk about the genius invention that was the video zone? Now, when you get a DVD, Blu-ray these days, of course there's the extras, special features behind
Stills
the scenes.
galleries.
Commentary, stills. We always love a good still gallery.
Yes.
I would totally watch the Puppet Master still gallery, by the way. But there weren't when you had VHS. That came with DVD. So when you got a VHS, you just got the movie. But Charles Band came up with
It's
something.
not that.
It is, though.
It's
I think it is.
It's just trailers that they show at the end of other movies.
It sounds simple, but I think it made a big difference. So Charles Band, in an era where there were...
I'm just basically trying to calm me down.
All right.
Okay.
Deep breath. But Charles Band, in an era where there were not extras, when you had VHS rather than DVDs, came up with something called the video zone. After the credits rolled in the movie, and you would have to fast forward through the credits or wait out the credits, there would be a little segment called the video zone. He called it, I think, a video magazine is how he described it. And these were at the end of, starting with Puppet Master 2, these were at the end of almost all of the Full Moon movies. And Charles Band would come on, he'd give a little introduction, this is what's up with Full Moon. Then you might get an interview with some of the actors, you get some behind the scenes, how this movie was made. Now this all sounds like what you would expect from any DVD that you buy these
Well, it
days.
kind of points to what I think worked well with movies before, like pre-internet movies, where if something is bad, you don't really find out until you've already rented it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not hearing, like, it's weird because, I mean, we're trying to be like critics here. I'm kind of bashing critics, but there's good critics out there, but a lot of people will just go by the reviews.
Yep.
And you hear that, like, if there's a new Charles Band movie coming out, you hear it's terrible. 90% of people are just going to avoid it. If you're a big Charles Band fan and you don't have access to all these reviews, you're just going to be like, I'm going to check it out myself. And that's a great way to go at it. That's a great way to look at movies.
Well, the way...
And the way these trailers existed in the Video Zone, they just kind of, they're in their own little world.
That's what it was. It was you discovered this little Video Zone.
Like, you don't even know if they actually are movies or if they're just trailers.
Right. Like, you discovered this little
Video
Video Zone at the end of Full Moon, and they would tell you more about the movie you just watched. They would tell you about other movies that were coming up, and you felt like you had discovered something. You were on the inside, you were part of a club, and pretty soon you were, and by you I mean me,
you are me.
You were probably out socializing with people and doing more healthy, productive things. I was going to the video store every week and looking for the Full Moon label, right? Mm-hmm. And Charles Band knew that's what I was doing. I mean, he was brilliant to come up with the Video Zone. So I think the Video Zone...
He's very good at branding.
So he made some pretty good movies, and he did some stellar marketing, basically, is what it comes down to.
That's kind of what, I'll say it again, that's kind of what Puppet Master is. It's really good idea, really good, cool-looking characters. There's just not a lot of, I don't know, there's not a lot there.
It might not hold together.
You don't get a lot out of it other than that. You'll walk away being like, those were cool-looking puppets, and they killed people.
But you know,
that's it. But
God bless them, sometimes that's enough. You know?
It was enough for me. It worked.
There you go. And I always, in the Video Zones, I would always hope, because I rent all the Full Moon movies, and I would always hope that they would talk about a new Puppet Master. You know? It was always really exciting.
It's a good series.
Yeah. So, Full Moon kind of had their golden age. Puppet Master came out in 1989. In 1995 or 96, somewhere thereabouts, their distribution arrangement with Paramount fell apart, and that was kind of the end of kind of the real golden era for Full Moon. But Charles Band, he's a dreamer. He's reaching for the stars, and Full Moon is still around today in the form of Full Moon Direct. They've reinvented themselves a few times. They're still putting out new movies. Can I show one of my props? Sure. I feel like Jordan always makes fun of me when I watch one of my DVDs.
I don't mock people.
This is, I just received this Puppet Master. Whoop.
Puppet Master X.
It's Puppet Master 10.
I know.
Axis Rising. This is the new 2012 Puppet Master film. So yes, Puppet Master is still an ongoing series. As low as their budget was back then, it is much lower now. But the enthusiasm is still there. The puppets are still there. There's Nazi puppets in this one. So Full Moon is still, keeping the flame alive. Sorry, am I going on too much about Full Moon?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll wrap it up. I brought more props, but I won't. We won't go into it.
No, go ahead.
No. Well, I do want to mention, if people, on the off chance that people are interested in learning more about Full Moon and Charles Band and Empire Entertainment, which produced Dolls and Reanimator, if you can still get your hands on this copy of Horror Hound magazine, it's really terrific. This is the last issue. The new issue, I think, is just starting to come out. But this has an overview of Empire Entertainment. It has an overview of Full Moon. And it has features on the Puppet Master and Subspecies series, which came out from Full Moon. So if you're interested in that subject, check out that issue of Horror Hound, which is number 38.
I will watch more Puppet Master movies.
Yeah, right on. You were supposed to watch the first 3 for this episode. You only watched the first 1.
They just happen to all come in one disc. That's why.
So
I'll watch them.
Cool. Well, I hope you do, and I hope at least some of the people watching this who haven't already check out Puppet Master or revisit it if, like me, it was something you watched when you were younger, because it's a fun series.
And definitely check out Dolls.
See Dolls. We really liked it a lot. So that's it for this episode of
Episode
Brain
5.
Says Strange Things. Episode 5. Thanks for watching and supporting us. We're having a lot of fun doing these. We're getting the website up and running, so we got a lot of cool things coming from the Brain Says Strange Things empire. I feel like I'm Charles Band doing a full video zone right now.
Don't oversell it.
Yeah, better to
Leave it to the professionals.
under promise and over deliver. Well, what I can promise is that we'll be back soon with another episode of Brain Says Strange Things.
There you go.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.